It's time to take a TO with coaches Turner and O'Neill. Produced by Curtis Cross and engineered by DJ Chris.
It's time to take a TO with coaches Steve Turner and Casey O'Neill. Your new favorite podcast features conversation from the world of high school, college, and pro sports, along with other riveting content. Connect with us socially at Turner O'Neill Podcast or visit www.turnerando'neill.com. Thanks to our partners, Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage, the Tamara Cusick Team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, and Healthy Baller. Our sponsors, O'Neill Development LLC, Next Level Lacrosse, and Peace Players International. Our donors, Justin O'Neill, Winsight Media, and Redwood Investments. Take a TO with Coach Turner and O'Neill is produced by Curtis Cross and engineered by DJ Chrissy. Now we welcome you to today's episode as we take a TO with coaches Turner and O'Neill. Here's your host, Curtis Cross.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 4. We love you guys as our listeners. This is week 4 of Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Thanks for listening. Last week, 1,000 listeners in 24 hours, gentlemen. We approached some tough subjects. We enjoyed doing it. It seems as though our listeners enjoyed the same. Fellas, how are we doing this week?
Ready to rock and roll. It's game day, episode 4, hard to believe, following up on last week, which was a great week. And tells me a couple things but by that viewership or listening is that people want to hear those uncomfortable conversations. And I think we'll hit on some other uncomfortable things today with what we got in store.
It's exciting to see those numbers and to see where we're going in such a short time. I'm excited for us to just keep going and see where we can really take this. But I definitely agree. People want to hear the uncomfortable conversation. And the positive thing about that is that we can keep pushing it for people to hear it and hopefully get them to join in on it.
Well, I thank you, gentlemen, for bringing this conversation, this podcast to life. Everyone knows our story. Steve, you've been thinking about it for some time through conversations you and I had, and then, of course, the conversation you had with Coach O'Neill. We were able to make this thing actually happen, and I think Casey's famous words are he's just surprised it happened so fast that it came together, right?
Exactly. To sort of dream about it, to be on long car rides thinking about it, and then to actually throw that idea to a great friend and colleague like Steve, and to bring in my really growing friendship with Curtis. We're just getting started, man. It's still
just getting
things
started.
are fresh and new. There's a smile across the room there. Come on, man.
Oh boy. All right. One of these days, you know what? I talked to Steve about this. I don't know if I mentioned it to you. I'll drop it on you right now. One of these days, let's say the next 4 to 6 weeks, let's go Facebook Live and let's have a live audience.
I would love to do it.
Yes, sir.
We can answer questions live.
Let's take the show on the road.
Yes, sir.
Let's do it. We're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, we have a commitment from all 3 coaches with their letter of intent that we will do in the next 4 to 6 weeks. Let's do it. A lot of folks are on vacation in August. Let's do it in September, maybe right after Labor Day or something, huh?
You got to be careful. Kids aren't signing those NLIs anymore.
Well, you guys do.
It's COVID. You can't touch the same pen, right? You got to.
Oh, man. That's apropos. We're going to get to that today.
Do you know what they do is the verbal commitment. Is the verbal commitment.
Do I have a verbal commitment from you, gentlemen?
Absolutely.
I'm all the way in.
You're all the way in.
Yeah.
You picked your locker out in your dorm room already?
I'm not worried about all that, but I'm all the way in.
You're all the way in. Ladies and gentlemen, one headline. You guys ready? Lou Williams left the NBA Orlando campus and now must quarantine after visiting a gentleman's club. He has one job: stay on campus, play the sport that he gets paid so well to play. What do you guys think?
Well, first, he was excused to go home.
He was excused.
Because of some family situation.
Right.
And then to go step out of bounds.
He stepped out of bounds.
It's a problem. But who didn't think that somebody was going to step out of bounds at some point?
Right.
I think you're going to have a hard time trying to convince people with the amount of money these athletes make. And we've heard that for years. How can you not, whether it's going out and not having an Uber or something, or it's a driver, you make all this money, making tough decisions. But come on, man. Come on.
because he wanted to pick up wings that were on the menu named after him. That's what I heard. I also heard that there was someone there, I guess a rapper, who took the picture. The picture became public, and he claimed it was a picture that he was just reminiscing about from back in the day. Yet Lou Williams had an NBA mask on that he was given in the bubble.
Oh, boy. All right, on to the next thing. Poor Lou.
Poor Lou. Ladies and gentlemen, that's one crazy headline, and let's kick off our starting five. The starting five. Next Level Lacrosse. Train like a Spartan. Next Level Lacrosse is dedicated to providing a terrific lacrosse experience that is intensely focused on player development and character formation. Located in Kensington, Maryland, find us at www.nextlevelspartans.com. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get into the starting five, I would like to make sure we thank our partners, our sponsors, our donors, and our friends. You guys believe in this podcast. You guys support the podcast. We appreciate what you've done, and it will be our job to make sure that we let our listeners know that you guys support us, and hopefully, our listeners appreciate hearing from you guys as well. Our starting five, for those of you who don't know, each week we kick it off with a starting five, questions that the coaches have not heard of before. I will read them to each coach. They'll have 30 seconds each to answer the question. If they do not answer the question or they go above their 30 seconds, Chrissy, what will they hear? They will hear that. Did I say 30 minutes or 30 seconds? But it's 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
They have. Sometimes Chrissy goes crazy with the ding ding as well. Okay.
This is the starting five. We got to be careful.
This is the starting five. All right. Here we go. Every week are we doing this?
It's never going to end.
It's never going to end. From my pasta brother over there.
Oh, boy.
It's never going to end. This is a bromance in the making, guys. You guys are witnessing this live each week. All right. Starting five. Coach Turner, Batman or Superman? Who's your hero if you have to pick one of those two?
I got to go with the Dark Knight.
All right.
I'm going with Batman.
Which version? Because there were like 14 Batmans that came out in the last 10 years.
It doesn't matter. I just like all the trinkets and all the toys.
That was a badass car, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
Coach O'Neill.
We tend to agree on a lot of things, and it's not going to change with this. I've always been a Batman guy. I can remember growing up, I had the Batman costume, which back then was like...
You still have it, don't you?
Right.
You still have it.
Look, it had the mask on. I remember Jerry Seinfeld doing comedy. It had like the mask with the little string in the back, and it would just be like so tight in my head I could barely breathe. But I've always loved Batman, man. Batman and Robin. He's
Do you still wear it on Halloween? Tell the truth.
If I could, I would. I have a Batman... We went down to Universal Studios, and I know Batman's not Universal, but we took the family down there to Harry Potter World for my daughter Chloe.
Ooh!
But we all wore matching Batman shirts. Sorry,
I remember that picture.
Right. Coach O'Neill, number 2, March Madness final game or Super Bowl?
Ooh, I'm gonna go. I do love college basketball, but I'm gonna go Super Bowl. I'm going to go Super Bowl. It's just, something. Look, Super Bowl's on a Sunday night. March Madness final game is a Monday night. It just Super Bowl, I got a lot of good memories of just being with folks and the food and everything. But I know my man here, the greatest shot from a young man he coached.
He will not agree with you.
I'm going to set you up with that inbounds play. And who was the young man that dished it over?
The dish was Arch Dianaco.
Yeah.
Maker, Chris Jenkins. But it's definitely March Madness.
Of course.
It's just a whole build-up. You can't beat that. And for me, Super Bowls haven't been the same without the Skins, or as now we call them the
Washington football
team. Growing up watching Washington win those Super Bowls was great, but nothing like a March Madness.
I would argue that the Saturday Final Four is up there too. I love that day too.
It starts from day one. Like for me, you got games coming on at noon and all through the day. It can't beat it. March Madness, and I'm beating the dings.
No.
So you said the shot was Chris Jenkins, but the pose was Chris Jenkins. Where did he get that from?
Steve Turner.
All right. I'm just making sure.
Stick it.
Steve, you're up next. Miss Pac-Man or Galaga?
Ooh. Come on, it's on the same machine.
Miss Pac-Man or Galaga? I was a Galaga guy.
For me, Galaga.
Right. Not Galaxian.
No. Galaga.
Yeah.
Galaga. I'm a Galaga guy.
Pac-Man. Miss Pac-Man all the way.
Miss Pac-Man, all right.
Yeah. It's very simple. And don't you dare hit that buzzer. I've only gone 5 seconds. That's my answer.
All right. You cannot carry over your time to the next answer.
You're
all right.
ask the next question.
The gentleman from Silver Spring has yielded his time. All right. The distinguished gentleman. Question number 4. $1 million you'll get to hit one home run. Is the pitcher Justin Verlander or Matt Scherzer? Who are you taking your chances with?
Oh, I'm gonna go.
And not Verlander, who just got hurt yesterday.
Right, but I'm going to go Verlander to begin with, and here's the reason why. I'm a huge Nationals fan, and Max Scherzer is our guy, and just love his energy. But after I hit that home run off Verlander, I'm going to look up and see Kate Upton as I'm rounding the bases and just dab on it. You know what I mean? I don't know, right?
All right. Who can you hit that home run off, Coach Turner? Scherzer or Verlander?
I'm going with the same guy, but for different reasons. Oh God.
Was Justin Verlander?
They were both Detroit Tigers.
I just feel like Verlander would be too cocky and would put one down the pike that I could.
Yeah, but you've seen what his wife has like.
Oh, no
what
doubt.
she said on me. I mean, it would just be like, boom.
I got you.
I didn't mean to make you laugh, but good.
Week after week, you do this. Week after week, you give us a reason to lose it on the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the production meetings, I am known as the little brother here. I take a lot of ribbing. A lot of Jones are headed my way. I got to fight back.
Is he using up Steve's time?
Oh, goodness.
You get the small piece of chicken at dinner this Sunday.
Oh, man.
All right, fine.
Ladies and gentlemen, number 5, Coach O'Neill.
No, it's me.
It's Steve's turn.
Oh, it's coming back to Steve. I'm sorry.
Question 5.
Question 5, Coach Turner. Beach vacation or cabin in the woods?
Oh, no doubt, beach vacation.
All right.
Give me the water all day long.
Get your toes up in the air in a sausage sandwich?
Yeah, and a nice pop.
Nice pop.
Beach. Absolutely beach. Although I'm more beach a little bit away from, where you can kind of see the water and hang out, or maybe on like a dock somewhere, to be honest with you, just because, that sand in August gets hot, man.
Yeah, it does.
Just make sure you get a hot tub.
You got to put the
sunscreen
on your kids.
In the backyard. I'll be good.
I just came back from all that.
We know.
Those pictures were unbelievable.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have something to say that Chrissy has a script, so she might know. I'm going to announce it to the coaches for the first time. Gentlemen, earlier today when I was writing some script for us, I got a notification. We are now on Apple Podcasts. You guys did not know that. We are now on Apple Podcasts and iTunes.
You know what's messed up?
What's that?
I literally was going to check before I left, and I got caught doing something that I didn't look.
I got the email, and I'm like, I'm not going to tell the guys. We're going to put it on the show later.
That's
so
awesome.
that they can. So we're on Spotify. We're all over the place now. But the email says, and I quote, where is it? It says, your podcast located at whatever the URL is has been approved. You should expect to see it on the iTunes store within a few hours. When it's available, you will be able to access it with the URL below. I will click the URL, gentlemen, and you will now see that you are on Apple Podcasts right there.
Yes, sir.
I don't know how to search it yet, but we'll get it out to everyone. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can listen to us on Buzzsprout, on Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, we will be on there. You got it, Steve?
You can you can type it in to the search, and it comes up right on if you got an iPhone, on the podcast app.
Wow.
So there you go. So we are now there. The starting five. Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill would like to thank our friends of the program. Richard Butts Jr., Gene and Clarinda Carter, Sean Clifton, Paula Cross, Justin O'Neill, Susan and Brendan O'Neill Sr., Amy O'Neill Richard, Damian and Brooke Stevenson, Marcus Taylor. If you'd like to become a friend of the program, go to www.turnerando'neill.com and click Partnerships.
At Peace Players, we use the power of sport to unite, educate, and inspire young people to create a more peaceful world. We offer sport programming, peace education, and leadership development to those living in communities in conflict. We challenge the hate that is driven by fear of our differences. We bridge divides between people through the game of basketball, and we develop young leaders who help to change perceptions. Find out more at www.peaceplayers.org.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we return to the show. These gentlemen are different than before we went to break because now they are on Apple Podcasts. Gentlemen, how does that feel?
It's in all seriousness. I know we were joking in the starting five there. It's a testament to you, Curtis, to you, Chrissy. I know I say it's going really fast. I'm proud. I'm so proud in this short amount of time of what we've built and how big this thing can go.
There's no doubt we aren't here where we are right now without the two of you. So I applaud and hats off to the both of you. And just our friendship has gone a long ways, and I just can't say how much I appreciate you guys. So
Well, we thank you for that.
Amen.
Chrissy doesn't have a microphone, but I think can I get a thumbs up on that one, Chrissy? 2 thumbs up. Look, guys, I write the stuff. I love being behind the mic. Chrissy's responsible for getting you guys this kind of shine, and she's responsible for the editing and making you guys sound good because we sound like a bunch of bums until she comes in and cleans it up, I think. So thank you, Chrissy. Chrissy, I would love it if you did this, though. Can you turn the air up a little bit? It is warm in here. You guys warm?
It is a little warm, but
if you could turn the air up a little bit, that would be awesome. Thank you, Chrissy. Let's talk, gentlemen. COVID-19, the effect on sports. I think everyone can turn on ESPN or the news and see where we are in professional and college sports. We'll touch on that a little bit. The NBA, WNBA, the MLS, MLB, they've all restarted. Your thoughts on the way they're handling it? And just today, we have some cancellations in Major League Baseball because the Florida Marlins, they have 8 more guys and a couple of coaches tested positive. I know it's doggone near impossible to put those teams in a bubble. The NBA is finding a way to do it. Last I heard, they have 0 positive cases. The WNBA is doing it.
and hockey.
And hockey.
Hockey's in their hub cities.
And hockey came up with their first test all negative.
All negative. So it seems as though, and I think this is no rocket science, when you can control the environment, put them on an island. I know it seems a little bit confining, but we're worried about safety while trying to advance social justice messages, while trying to return to some sort of normal. Some say we're coming back too soon, but for sports like the NFL, I think this thing is not going to turn out the way they want, but certainly for Major League Baseball, they're having some issues over there right now. Your thoughts?
I mean, it shows you how serious this thing is, and we have to just continue to take precaution, trust what they're telling us in terms of wearing our mask, our social distancing, and I mean, I don't think that the baseball players are running around acting a fool, but it just shows you when you're allowed to be in a what I would call an uncontrolled environment, what the potential is to happen. And as we know, it only takes a couple to get it to potentially shut things down. And my fear is that baseball will get shut down and will lead to football not happening at all.
I mean, that clearly seems like the direction. You heard about the Marlins. I mean, that's already the trickle effect it has on the next group coming in. You heard the Nationals manager, Davey Martinez, saying, who had a condition last year and can't really put himself in that situation, had a heart condition. People remember, they're supposed to go down to Florida here, and he's nervous about that. It just has that trickle. Look, everybody's so fixated on getting back to what the normal is, yet people aren't going to be patient enough. And you're seeing it, obviously. I think all the professional sports teams are doing their best to get these players in a safe environment and back to playing. But even more so, and I'm sure we'll touch on this later, but everybody around our area, you see, whether it's in youth sports, camps, and things. And the scary thing is, Steve, it's an unknown. We don't know. We were all freaking out back in March and April, but there isn't a vaccine. We don't have one yet. Everyone feels invincible, and they need to get back to what they, supposed to do. And it's a little scary.
It's very scary.
You said that folks are trying to get back to normal. Excuse me. Should we redefine normal?
We're going to have no choice but to redefine normal. I mean, we already have. Our normal right now is not the normal that we want to be involved in, and the normal that I think we're trying to get to immediately won't be the normal that we were used to. So I just pray and hope that people can be a little more patient, abide by the things that they're telling us to do, so that we can save lives. There's too many people dying from this, and that's the part that's so scary. You have families that want to be able to live their lives, but you got to think about those around you.
And it's so hard to define normal, okay? Because my normal is different than your normal, than different than yours and yours. What my routine is as a lacrosse coach is, this 24/7, the 12 months of the tournaments, the recruiting, the season, the fitness, the preseason training, and that's gone away right now. But that normal for me is different than what your schedule is like, and what it's like for a soccer family, or what it's like for somebody that plays hockey. I mean, imagine being a wrestler. How are you going to get kids right? I mean, so to answer the question, Curtis, I don't know what the new normal is, but we have to be able to, and we've touched on this in shows before, to adapt, adjust, and be patient, and gosh darn, be safe. What's the phrase? Safety never takes a holiday. Yet people are out, not social distancing, parties, beach weeks, cases spiking back up. I mean, can't we figure some stuff out?
So, that's interesting. We're in a rush to go nowhere. And it's tough. And yes, you and I, Steve, we would love to, a month ago, have been watching the NBA Finals.
Forget the NBA Finals. I would have loved to have been able to go on my 20-year anniversary trip.
Wow. Yes.
Prior
Costa Rica?
Yeah, Costa Rica.
Right.
I would have loved to have been able to celebrate that with my wife, and unfortunately, and we did.
We did a little something.
We figured out how to make it happen.
Oh, she was on top of that. She texted me and called me like 2 weeks in advance, and she was nervous. For those of you who don't know, Steve and I, of course, go way back. I DJ'd his wedding, and Leah, your wife, called me and said, "Curtis, can you just put together a playlist? We're supposed to go to Costa Rica, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, this was right at the beginning when I was thinking, how are we going to bring virtual events to people? And I said, Leah, forget the playlist. Why don't you do a Zoom, have me come in as your DJ right from this studio, right here is where I was when I did it. And I said, why don't I reintroduce you as husband and wife, play your first dance song, have some folks there on the Zoom, and that was really important to her. She was nervous. She thought you were going to call me and ask me to do something for her that was going to conflict with her idea. I said, I just won't answer his call.
What was the first dance song?
Oh, man.
Spend My Life With You.
Eric Benet.
And Tamia. Yep. And they had that dance. I think Leah offered a toast, and it was nice. Steve was chilling. Did you have any idea?
I had no clue.
She was worried about that.
I had no clue.
She said that you were going to call me and ask me, because I'm your music guy, right?
Yeah.
And she just knew you would call me and ask me to do something, which you did not.
I just tried to make the day nice for her. And that came from going and getting a little kiddie pool and blowing up, creating my own little beach on the deck.
That's your Costa Rica.
You know, just trying to stay together and be together in the moment.
Right, and I hope you guys enjoyed that.
We did.
It was very, very wonderful to be a part of it. I was there 20 years ago, down on the Southwest waterfront, right? Yeah. Right, Knapp Turner.
Knapp Turner.
Yes.
So
I remember that. Gentlemen, let's move on to college athletics. Conferences are making their own decisions. So how tough is it for conferences, considering that some colleges and universities are in states or areas that are considered hotspots? For example, New York is requiring residents to quarantine for 14 days after traveling from any of the states deemed to have significant community spread and then returning to New York. So many conferences have chosen to limit their schedules to conference play only. Assuming there is a season, let's say in basketball, how does, let's say, Syracuse handle the matter when they play teams from North Carolina, UVA, Virginia Tech, Duke, and those campuses are in New York's required quarantine states? How do they handle that? So does Syracuse play UNC, and do those players quarantine for 14 days when they come back to campus?
It's funny you say Syracuse because my godson and nephew is going to be a freshman there this year, and he has to leave because of those rules. He's not going up there to play football, but he has to leave instead of August 14, 15, which I guess, freshman orientation. He's got to go August 1 for that.
The quarantine.
Yes.
Before he goes there.
And my sister, it's her oldest child. I mean, this is, I'm going into family stuff here, but she's freaking out. She said, I don't get that 14 days. We got to take him up here. We got to rush. We got to hurry up and get him up there. But to answer that question, I don't know how they do that, and I don't think they do. Now, I'm saying this here, recording this podcast, but there's no way. People are putting in ideas, Big Ten, ACC. You've already seen, I know less money market Ivy League, Patriot Leagues, which have said no fall sports at all.
NESCAC
right?
or something.
NESCAC, that's right.
There
the New
you go.
England schools. I know. We're going back a few episodes here. I just don't know how they do that. I really don't know how. And yes, they say ACC will only play. I think they're going to start it a little bit later. But, I mean, look, I see baseball slowly but surely starting to fizzle out a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I think what you're starting to see with the models is we'll push it back into 2021 and just kind of continue to go back. It's going to hurt a lot of financial, economic reasons for these colleges, but I just don't think I don't think those schools can pull it off. I don't know how they can do it. Right. I mean, Clemson University, it started training camp. They had 23 cases on their football team. I mean, it's just kids are coming in from everywhere. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Right. Coach Turner, how are they going to do it? How does Syracuse play an ACC schedule and play UNC, UVA, Virginia Tech,
Florida State,
NC State, whoever, where those states are mandatory quarantine states according to Governor Cuomo when they come back? Do those kids, are they sitting in dorms for 2 weeks, not going to class, not having practice? How is this? That's not how a program runs.
I just don't see it happening, but I kind of looked, saw on Twitter today, Jay Billis spoke to how everyone was so, harsh about they walked that strong stance about no students on campus, and now he's saying you're hearing people say, hey, maybe it's only the athletes on campus and nobody else on campus because of the money, and that's what still makes it dangerous. I think this can't be a decision made over financial. I know that it's hitting schools and hitting organizations in their pockets hard, but we got to still continue to be on the stance of what's most safe for people's lives. And I just don't see how you make it happen. Not early anyway.
The hardest part is if you look across the country at these colleges and you see the other sports that I clearly don't bring in the money that football and basketball do, mm-hmm. but are dropping sports left and right. What happened at Stanford, my own experience in our family down at Furman, baseball and lacrosse. We have a great friend who was a swimmer at UConn. They cut the men's swimming program, and you just see that trickle effect, and it's tough. Steve, you bring up the point. You just have the athletes stay on campus, and then I know a lot of schools are going to be virtual for at least for the first 4 to 5 weeks of the semester for college.
Right.
And, the kids are, that's part of their college experience right now. That's kind of not the normal, but what they have to deal with. And we as leaders and we as people that work in schools have to continue to be creative. And as you mentioned, patience before, the parents have got to work with that and be creative. I mean, it's a mess. It's a total mess.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to pay some bills and we'll be right back.
This segment is brought to you by O'Neill Development. O'Neill Development specializes in custom residential work, providing extensive pre-construction and construction services. O'Neill Development, building, remodeling, and development since 1975. Visit www.o'neilldev.com. Winsight Media, connecting the food and allied retail industries through research, media, and events. Visit them at www.winsightmedia.com. Winsight Media, unparalleled industry events, actionable research, and insightful media.
Healthy Baller. Become your own success story. At Healthy Baller, our team of specialists is committed to providing injury recovery and strength and conditioning training tailored to individual needs. Watching our clients break barriers fuels our passion for athletic development and inspires us every day to continue helping people. Become your own success story and begin today. Visit www.healthyballer.com or call 844-622-5537. All right, we're having the COVID-19 coronavirus conversation as it affects sports professionally on the college level and on the high school level. Gentlemen, we touched on pro and college athletics. I want to hit the biggie now. High school sports, prep sports, public, private school students. If you're the 3-sport athlete, if you played baseball and then you play football and then you wrestle, you in effect are going to miss your entire year of sports. Fairfax County, Prince George's County, Montgomery County, they have decided to go virtual until the second semester. I do believe I heard something today, DC Public Schools, did they say their football season is going to start February 15th?
There's a lot of areas whose sports are going to start late December, early January.
With the winter sports.
And it looks like
first.
What would start first is winter sports. Then you would have the fall sports and then the spring sports. Spring would extend into June. And you would be basically in conference play. So a shorter season, there wouldn't be travel, wouldn't be non-league, non-conference games. And I even know Virginia, who had said before that they were doing something different, but they came back today and said that's the model they're going to follow, which I know DC put out first. I believe the Maryland schools actually had that same model, but it came out that they were shutting sports down. So I think it still remains to be seen, and I think the first thing that we have to be focused on is just getting the kids back to school.
Yeah.
Or at least getting them back online. Whatever the way is that the kids are going to be back to learning, that has to be the first priority. And sports have to become secondary. I don't want to see any kids miss another season. It was unfortunate for all the spring sports that missed last year, but again, I'm going to keep saying it's life first, and we have to be smart enough and understanding enough that we've got to look at the big picture, which is getting our kids back to school and getting them into a learning environment, and being prayerful right now that we do get a vaccine at some point so that we can come back to sports in the second half of the year.
I agree. I think the number one priority, at least for these academic institutions, is to start with the model that's given to them in terms of student to teacher ratio or how many kids can be in a social distancing safe area. So what you're seeing the models is a lot of 1/3 on, 2/3 off, rotating, who's on campus, who's not, health check-ins when they come into school. You're seeing a little bit of that with the athletic training that some of the programs, this summer in terms of like conditioning, a little bit of strength training, the disinfectant of the equipment and the things that they're using. they're kind of using those models in the summer so the kids can come down and have that, something to look forward to work out. But Steve, I agree. I mean, the goal is to get the kids back in the classroom, to get the kids, whose parents need to work, and can't, maybe afford to have their kids at home, and they got to take more time off of work. But we got to find a way to get them there first. And I know athletics is such a big deal. It is to me and my family, and to you too, Steve, and everyone here in this room. But again, it's we don't want to run the risk of bringing cases into schools because they've been out playing in their soccer club or lacrosse clubs or you know what I mean, tournaments or 7-on-7 camps, and then you have a few cases show up to school, and then you run the risk of shutting down totally.
Right. I think the other piece to this though is some people jumped out early and said, "Hey, nothing." I think you have to be mindful not to do that either. My biggest thing that I worry about, I've worried about ever since we got shut down with because of COVID is mental health issues.
Yeah,
you got to give everybody some type of a glimmer of a hope that there will be an opportunity to have some type of a season. There's kids who I know are focusing on and are concerned with, how they're going to get recruited. And so I know that becomes an issue for the parents and the families, and that's why they take an opportunity now to run the risk to go play in these tournaments that are still being played in certain places, because they know that sports are part of the means to an end, even though they have to have the academics with it.
Right.
But for for some people, it's the best opportunity for their kid to be able to go to college. And so I get that part of it, but I think all this stuff leads back to leadership, man. Like, it starts at the top. We're in a situation here in the U.S. with this pandemic because leadership at the top hasn't put everybody on the same page. You look at some of the other countries who are now moving back into what may be their normal. I don't know what that was, but are able to move around is because they did it all the same. We got different states, different cities, different counties doing something different. And that's not working. We have got to find a way to get everybody to a similar page.
But we were giving kids, you talk about that hope and getting back into on the field or on the court, in the pool, on the rink, on the mat, whatever it is. And I just felt like for weeks and weeks, we had these destinations we wanted to get to late July, early August, whatever it was. We'll get our seniors who didn't get a proper senior day to actually suit back up, and giving those guys that hope. And it just kept falling apart and falling apart and falling apart. Here we are now just trying to get these kids to school. And all those seniors graduating are trying to get to whatever's happening in the states of the colleges that they're going to, just more bad news after bad news. And I think you're right, Steve. The leadership part is enormous, absolutely enormous. We're in a society that can't agree on a lot of different things, but when it comes to health and it comes to safety, I mean, come on, can't we all agree on taking the right steps and the right measures? It's a shame. It's a shame to watch, all different aspects of this.
Where does this leave this year's seniors? And especially like
that just graduated, 2020 seniors?
No, 2021.
Okay.
The upcoming seniors, rising seniors. Thank you. You have kids, and look, every kid has not, been recruited since he was in or she was in 8th grade, and they have a ticket to get wherever they want to go. There are some kids who are on the cusp. Some kids who are tweeners who feel like they needed, now granted, I mean, it sucks because you got to take advantage of every opportunity, but some kids needed this year to get more film. They needed this year to study the game over the summer. They needed this year to be the better athlete they could be, or learn how to be the better student athlete. Maybe athletics is not their path, but to be able to manage a club sport at a college, curriculum. Where does that leave that kid?
In a tough place, to be honest. But I think for each kid, they got to hope and pray, number one, that they got a coach who's thinking outside of the box.
Advocating, right?
Certainly advocating. Absolutely, is willing to pick up a phone and make some calls. You hope that you have a coach who's connected in certain ways, that he can reach out to some schools to be able to know that he can sell who you are and who you have the chance to be. I think what helps that for those that you have to have those conversations with is, one, we can go back to the thing we just talked about. They got to be solid in the classroom. No coach is going to be able to sell the kid who hasn't or put himself in a position to be qualified for college.
Right.
And your hopes are that you got enough film that coaches can put things together and reach out and just start selling their players to the best of their ability.
I would agree, and it's becoming creative in different ways. We've had conversations clearly with these rising seniors that probably didn't have the game film that they would have liked, because we only had 2 games in the spring season. Speaking for my sport and the spring sports, but being creative with it, being creative with some of the film they have, being creative with some of the workouts they do, where you can get to camera and work with some guys on footwork and getting those to the colleges, working on their shot speed and working on different things that you can show. And let's be honest, clearly a lot of the club scene, I can't really speak for the AU basketball, but club soccer, club lacrosse, I've seen swimming in different avenues are kind of, that are outside the parameters of the high schools, are kind of going on, right? There's individual lessons kind of happening.
Right.
COVID safe, but tournaments that kids are going into. So there's that, I guess, risk for the families. That is it, do I want to take it? They have that choice. Again, you continue to see that. I'll be honest too, for some of the seniors who really wanted a shot to be at a big school, if I'm a 5th year, academy or school, that's an option a lot of people can possibly look at. It's just one small option. You don't see it very often in this area.
No, but
it happens.
But you bring up a great point. What you've seen in the past years is the kids who reclass. They reclass to give themselves an opportunity to be an older senior.
Sure.
By the time they get there, but what could come back to life is 2 things. I think the prep schools, because a kid could take an opportunity and go get a 5th year.
Exactly.
So the big thing now is, again, back to making sure that your academics are in order, so that you're not needing the prep school on that piece. You may just need the prep school for the ability to have another season and maybe bring up a couple of grades. And then the other one is I think junior colleges are going to come back into play.
Exactly. Let me put up one point, and just had a conversation with my son about just sort of the experience going into his 2nd year. So clearly his freshman year, and I know we're talking high school, but in college, these are the things going through the kid's head. So he 3/4 through his freshman year, they got to shut down and be virtual, and boom, done. Has to deal with a program being shut down, and then knowing at the next school he's about to go to might be virtual, guaranteed for the first few weeks, and then it might be virtual even the first semester. Mm-hmm. The contemplation in a lot of kids' heads, not only with him and others, is, do I take a year where I work, I get some money, and then I get the experience that I really want out of college, which is being, walking to class and being on campus with my peers, going to that football game or going to that baseball game, being able to play a sport. I mean, I know it's taken a step back, and that probably won't happen, but that's a reality that's going through people's heads, and it kind of goes back to the mental health of kids, that it's like, what's going on here? And they're looking to our leaders, and nobody's really got anything solid for them.
I don't want to suggest that any of this is good, but if you can I draw out of this that at least the rising senior from Gonzaga is going through the same thing that the rising senior in Arizona is going through. So that playing field is somewhat leveled, where they might be missing some film, but the kid from Minnesota, the kid from Arizona, the kid from California is also missing some film. Maybe that's where the junior college or prep comes in. So does that mean that there are going to be some kids in college who might stay another year?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
They're going to get more shine. Maybe, the kid that, there's going to be a less weighted freshman class coming in.
What becomes scary is we're going into a whole other topic right here, but is the transfer portal. And one of the things that no one's talked about is coming up here is the NCAA passing not having the sit.
Right.
Now, that's the part where I start worrying about the senior, does the senior become extinct to a certain degree for colleges? And I'm speaking to my sport, basketball, with that transfer portal. It's ugly. It's not pretty.
Please explain how that works to some who don't know.
Kid decides he's not happy where he is. He takes his name and puts it into a portal.
Yeah, every sport.
Now other schools say, okay, hey, maybe it's the big school who has a kid who's headed out to the NBA after 1 year, and now they see that this smaller school has a kid who's shined, man, averaging 20-something points a game, 10 assists a game. Hey, this kid can help me quickly because he's a little older and mature.
Right.
And I can bring him up a level, which is what he probably was dreaming of out of high school anyway.
Okay.
And now I get him. Now, you've had with that transfer portal some places where you possibly had to sit when you left.
Because you can't play right away.
But now they're getting ready to pass the rule where you can play right away.
Right.
But how did basketball handle that in terms of the season? We were getting right there to March Madness.
Mm-hmm.
It was right around the corner.
Yeah, like a week or
so
away.
I know for the spring sports, eligibility wise, outside of I think the Ivy League, every Division I college, those seniors are allowed to come back. They had the opportunity to come back because they didn't have the season.
The Ivy League has a different set of rules there. Yeah.
There's a few different set of rules and things going on, but you saw that transfer portal this past year with college lacrosse. It was through the roof. Now you need to get permission or something, your coach, and let them.
The coach still got to sign off.
Yeah, you got to sign off on it. And quite frankly, you could come off it and come right back. But I know these seniors. There's a ton of them in college lacrosse that are coming back. So you have to factor that into the high school recruiting class that's coming in.
Mm-hmm.
These seniors are coming back, and the coaches have a roster management they need to worry about.
Yep.
So there's even less spots for these 2021s as you go down the line. It's difficult. It really, really is.
So on the high school level, I do want to talk about something that doesn't get spoken about enough, I think, and I want to make sure that I touch on this. And this goes in a bunch of directions. I know there are counties where there are allied sports, and that would be sports where students who have certain special needs are competing in different sports. Let's not talk about, I always use this term, the blue chipper. Let's not talk about the 5-star recruit. Let's talk about the kid who was able to find his or her confidence in an allied sport. I coached at a high school, and I never saw more pride than when those kids in allied bocce ball won the state tournament or won the county, and won their section. Those kids aren't playing either. Let's not forget about those. The effect goes beyond just the student athletes as well. What about the student body that supports them? What about the boosters, the gate receipts, the staff, the concession stand, the band, officials, the cheerleader, the community? In some areas, Friday Night Lights is real, and obviously it is. And the local economy, advertisers, fundraisers. Steve, in your sport, you get sponsors for Midnight Madness or your Purple Eagle Madness. That sponsorship is gone. The concession stand is gone. Paula mentioned there are kids who play in the band who maybe want to be close to the sport. They live for playing the fight song when a touchdown is scored.
Yeah.
Those kids, we're talking about in a school, let's say in a public school, let's say there are 60 kids on the roster. Mm-hmm. Let's say there are 5 managers. There's 3 other people. There are 9 coaches. There are 6 officials on the field. There are 300 kids or 1,000 kids in the stand. There's 60 people in that band. There's a mother or father who get up and take their kid to a Saturday morning or a Friday night game, and they enjoy seeing their kid march onto that field at halftime. They don't get that. The cheerleaders don't get that. Sure, yeah. I don't get the hot dogs. There's a lot that's affected more than just, 14 guys on your bench. And believe me, when I call a game at some of these schools, I like the hot dogs. So all of that is gone. What happens to the hot dog inventory? It's just going to spoil in the freezer?
If they're still sitting there, yeah.
But it's more than just.
I don't think hot dogs can go bad, can they?
They don't last long enough.
Maybe that's about it.
Yeah, freezer burn. But the allied sports, there's a kid who, unfortunately, or fortunately, God makes no mistakes. They don't get their chance to play, on TV, but they get their allied sport. They get their friends, and they get the support from that coaching staff.
Well, I think what you're seeing is this is not just affecting the athlete, it's affecting the whole community.
Right.
And so, yes, not only is the athlete being made to feel like he's being or she is being made to feel like they're suffering, it's everyone. It's everyone in the school. Because, like you said, I know at Gonzaga, one of the things that attracted me to wanting to coach there was the boosters and how the brotherhood of the guys in the stands who were cheering for their teammates and wanting to see them win. That was an attraction to me in terms of wanting to be at a place like Gonzaga to coach and be able to work with the young men down there. So I know this is affecting every single young man for us on I Street, and we just got to be patient. We got to be patient.
And creative. I mean, you saw some incredible things over the quarantine and during the pandemic of people coming together virtually. You saw those creative ideas with somebody's birthday where the cars all drive and everybody, and wakes you up in the middle of the night and people drive by. But my point is that
don't go to bed at 7 o'clock, Casey.
Too much pasta.
That's what it is.
Or hot dogs. That all of a sudden I just found out that you love hot dogs. So I mean, give and take.
The right hot dog.
I just lost my train of thought. Anyway, the sort of being creative, and that's where I think we need to go with the kids, especially if we get them back on campus, 1/3, 2/3. But I mean, how many Zoom meetings did you have over it? Tons. I had guests on there. We had people, coming in that were alums, that were professional lacrosse players. Still having them. So we got to continue to be creative. We got to continue to have the message, be ready. Just be ready, whether you're in the band, whether you're a cheerleader, whether you're that young man that maybe isn't the blue chip player. Just be ready to go. Might as well work out and train and just keep pushing. Because you know what? If there is your time comes here sooner than later and the DC says green light, we're good. You don't want to be standing out on the sideline that you weren't ready and preparing during this. You got no excuse. But
it is community. It's everyone. Yeah. And like you said, it's those boosters. It's the brotherhood. You said that there's the Gonzaga tournament, and, that's all to benefit another cause there in your school. If that is unfortunately unable to happen, then there goes, that. And it's just so much more than the starting five, or, Casey, you've got a bigger roster, and it affects, there's a young man who wants to play lacrosse one day who didn't get to see the games this year. He could be the little brother of one of your players who, wants to see the sport, just got involved in the sport. It could be the young lady whose boyfriend plays and she wants to see him play, and her friends get to go to games. It's a social thing. And that's where, Steve, it speaks to the mental health piece. Some people, I know, if we're not doing anything on a Friday night, I'm looking in, allmet, sports.com. Well, who's playing? I want to see a good game. Is Blair playing Paint Branch, or is Springbrook going to play Clarksburg, or Gonzaga and Paul VI tonight? Oh, we're going down there, and we make an evening of it, and that's gone. And I don't want to take this conversation too far, but when we make an evening of it, we get to go to a game. We may go to a downtown restaurant. We may Uber down there, so the Uber driver's not getting that income. The restaurant's not getting that income. It's
a trickle down effect.
It's just a trickle down effect. And if you, on the way home, if you decide to get ice cream somewhere, so all of that is affected by COVID. All that's affected because people rally around athletics, and it's no longer, well, if you don't go to the Verizon Center, you're not going to a game. You can go to DeMatha Gonzaga. You can go to, Gonzaga Landon, and it's an evening. I've gone to games where people are tailgating in the parking lot. Yeah. It's a whole thing. And all of that is missing now.
I had someone tell me once, and he always says it to me. It's the best $5 date in town.
It's awesome.
It's a good deal, especially the quarterfinals. That's the best.
Well, not messing with you guys, because you guys get to AU or GW, and it goes to $10, $15 when you get down there.
It goes to $10. It doubles up.
Is it only 10 for the finals?
$10.
It's 10.
Okay, all right.
10. But look, I think this teaches the messages to our kids of, and we talked about this right before the quarantine, is empathy, and that's come up in shows in the past. But just because your lacrosse season and you're going through this, Curtis, you just mentioned it, everybody, the trickle effect is everybody's
It's
affected
real.
by this. You are not alone. I mean, you are literally not alone. So it does kind of teach that part. But again, I go back to the creativity. How do we continue to push to be creative with how we get these young men and women ready for when their seasons do come back? And we just got to keep pushing and trying and going.
Well, I think you're one. We talk about learning through lessons, and this is adversity at its peak, and so we got to learn from this and grow from this too. But I think the thing you can't do is sit back and say, "Woe is me."
Definitely.
We have to be proactive. Again, go back to what Casey just said. Be creative, and people have got to start figuring out right now what it is that they want at the end of this high school career, our high school journey, and start being proactive towards what it is you want. If it's trying to get scholarship, it's putting film together, having your coaches reach out to the other coaches. Hopefully they're already doing that ahead of the game. If it's being in the band, it's recording yourself playing, sending that out to a college. If you've been in the theater, sending out your film. So there's opportunities to be able to still put yourself out there and have those opportunities be attainable. But if we sit back and we wait, that's going to make it harder. So now it's time to be proactive while we have time.
Right. Talk about controlling controlling what you can control.
Yep.
And right now at this time, you can control that video, going out there and having to just record you shooting, footwork, defense, whatever it is, one-on-ones, if it's a sibling or something like that. And, we also talked about with the kids is balancing your reasoning. Right now, the reasoning is kind of hard to look at, but also your emotions. So if you let your emotions and reasoning just teeter-totter, you're going to be a train wreck.
Mm-hmm.
You got to balance everything right now. And right now, these kids, they are emotional, right? Yeah. They want something, but again, they have to keep that balance of emotions and reason.
This takes us back a couple weeks ago, Steve. Excuse me. You mentioned when trying to negotiate the process of picking a school, you need to be okay with that school if the sport weren't there.
True.
And how much you love that campus. Because for some who made the decision to go and play in a Division I football program, they were lucky enough to either be asked to be there or a scholarship. If football's taken away, are they going to like that school? And here we're staring at that right now.
Definitely. And well, the big thing with that is if it is taken away, more than likely you might be home because you probably would be virtual learning.
Right.
So
it's not the campus you have to like, but
you're still gonna have to be in love with the school,
right?
Because you're gonna have to deal with their curriculum. You're gonna have to deal with the course load. You're gonna have to still do the work towards being eligible when that time to come back on the court or on the field happens. So you got to be all in for whatever the situation
athletics.
is. Not just for athletics. You got to be all in.
And say real quick, I mean, I think all the schools, especially if you're going through that, looking into high school, have done such a great job virtually with what their campuses look like, what the course load looks like, who the teachers are, the bios of the coaches, the schedules the teams play, hopefully. What the theater department looks like, what the music department looks like, a history of the school. What's the mission statement? Does that resonate to what my beliefs are or what I want my child to be a part of? And at the end of the day, knowing that school is going to be on your, let's be honest, your resume, your life resume forever. That, Montgomery Blair High School, Gonzaga College High School, all the wonderful institutions in this area. And I always believe the kids at the end of the day, they look at these schools, they know where their friends are going, but they have to understand they get one shot. You get one shot at high school. You get those 4 years.
Right.
And it's take your time, look at it a little bit, get to know the coaches, get to know the teachers, admissions directors, whoever it is.
We are running short on this segment, but I got to get this question in. How does missing time on the practice field or the court and the gameplay affect, here we go, your ability to recruit and see your future rosters and plan for what your teams will look like moving forward? I don't know what that looks like for lacrosse, but Steve, Summer League, the AAU circuit, jamborees, gone. What is your team going to look like? What is the class of 2026 going to look like for you?
It's hard to say. Again, I've gone back to being creative and trying to make sure that I'm ahead of the game. having conversations with the coaches in these clubs, reaching out to the CYO coaches that we've talked to in the past, finding out from them who on their rosters may be interested in our school, having them let their families know to reach out to me. I put it out there. Send your film, send your grades, because we need to know about that too, so that there's not opportunity to waste time. But I can't even look that far down the line. Right now, it is a concern for me as I want to look at what this next crop of 8th graders is like. The blessing is being able to have seen some of them as 7th graders. So you've got to trust and try to, guess a little bit.
Hope that development continued.
And again, there's always going to be kids who are interested in certain places. So you want those kids to reach out to you now so you can start having those conversations and developing relationships with their families. And as I said, I think the kids and the families right now have to be able to be smart enough to be proactive and reach out to the places that they are currently interested in.
Coach O'Neill, what does that look like for you?
One of the things I think that has made us very successful over the years is I would say on my roster, which is about 45, is every single one of those young men wanted to be at the school. And so when it's in terms of recruiting, I look at the families that are more proactive and reaching out. Now, granted, we see kids at events and you get word of mouth and you see film and you talk to families engaging their interest. But there's no way I'm going to convince a 13, 14-year-old who doesn't know what he wants for lunch or dinner that this lacrosse program and this school is for you. He needs to figure that out. And so when I go back to those kids that have worked hard and actually want to be at the school, love getting up every day, and love playing for our program, we're going to be successful, even if we're not the most talented team in the conference or in the area, because they live and breathe and fight for that school, for this program. So going back to that, honestly, looking at it, we have built a great reputation, I think, with the program, that people know what our bios look like and who we are. We have great contacts with kids, and I want to sell the school and the mission over lacrosse because I respect so many wonderful people in this area that coach and have great programs. I just want the kids that want to be there, and we're going to do our darndest to help them try to get in.
And that wraps up this segment. We're going to come back on the other side of this break.
This segment of Take ATO with Turner and O'Neill is sponsored by Dynamic DJ Entertainment.
From Washington, D.C. to Ocean City, Woodbridge to Columbia, Richmond to Virginia Beach, the hottest DJs are right here. The Mid-Atlantic Professional DJ Association.
The Tamara Cusick team. Ready, set, sold. With a proven track record in real estate, call 301-580-5002 or visit Tamara4Homes. That's the number 4.com. The Tamara Cusick team, with over $1 billion in real estate sales since 2005.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into questions from our email bag coaches. Let's do it. Will high school sports ever be the same without Big Game Johnson on the sidelines? Todd Bradley sent that question in.
I'll take this question. It won't be, because that young man gave so much to the sports, not just football and basketball, but lacrosse, but baseball, but all the sports. And for those that don't know who Big Game Johnson is, he was a photographer for a website, DC Sports Fan. Todd's actually a neighbor of mine. And if Big Game Johnson is listening to this somewhere, I think the league, WCAC, the IAC, all the local leagues, public schools, around here, talk about a guy that loved what he was doing, just going out there, having conversation with athletic directors, with trainers, with coaches, with the kids, and just to answer Todd's question, no, it's not going to be the same. We miss Big Game Johnson.
No doubt. I mean,
follow him on YouTube. He's got some clips of a decade worth of incredible stuff.
He was a fixture in high school sports in the DMV.
Absolutely.
It wasn't a night you couldn't turn around and be able to see him on the sidelines, snapping videos and snapping pictures. Great conversation. Loved the sports. Loved the kids. and loved all the conferences of the DMV. And he didn't just, hunker down for one league. He did it for everyone.
And that goes back to what you were talking about in either the last segment or the one before that this pandemic and everything, all the pieces that are affected by this, by just sports not happening and the normal Friday night lights or the basketball games.
We didn't talk about the photographers.
The photographers or the people that literally just kind of do this because they just love being around sports. And now Big Game Johnson, he's all good. They moved down to Florida, so we just don't have him up here anymore. But he will be missed. He will be missed.
Question 2. Coach Turner, do you know who this is from? How does it feel to have so many championships and bring so much attention to Gonzaga? Who's that?
I don't know, but they're not talking about me. They got to be talking about Coach O'Neal. He's got a lot more championships than I do.
A gentleman with the last name Militello.
Worked for both of us.
All right, that would be Luca.
Another photographer.
Yes.
Well, the son of a photographer.
Son of a photographer. His dad took a lot of pictures, but Luca was was a manager for me in basketball. Also was a manager for the lacrosse team.
No, he didn't do lacrosse.
Oh, he didn't do lacrosse, but he did
baseball.
football.
He did football, baseball, yeah, and basketball.
So three sport manager. But how does it feel? I mean, definitely. Anytime you win a championship on I Street, it's a beautiful thing. And I've been blessed to have a few in the WCAC and a couple state championships, and one of the championships that's gone away, unfortunately, the DC City title.
Oh man,
I missed that, but
you keep bringing me back there.
But I was blessed to be able to have an opportunity to win one of those, and it's something I definitely will cherish. So, Luca, those championships are special, and they're the best thing ever.
It's a great young man right there.
You got a bunch of championships yourself, sir.
It's, I mentioned this before maybe, but each season has its own unique pulse and sort of journey and heartbeat. I think we've taken some, never for granted, but we've at sometimes overlooked how we got there. So we appreciate the championships, but I think sometimes you're going so fast that you overlook those just little moments, those Sunday, maybe a Sunday morning practice that, we had to come in there early, the winter workouts and everything. I always say, speaking of, we were talking about seniors, you're as good as your seniors want you to be. And we've had some darn good seniors. And even in the years where if we've struggled a little bit, they just cared. They put in the work. So I appreciate the question from Luke. I love that he's listening, and all good.
Last question from one of the friends of the program, Mr. Sean Clifton. How do you coaches feel about the athletes you have on your teams today compared to some of your past athletes? That's a tough one. He put y'all on the spot.
Repeat that question one more time, yeah.
It's not a starting five, so you get all the time you want, gentlemen. Just dig that hole. How do you coaches feel about the athletes you have on your teams today compared to some of your past athletes?
You want me to go?
I'll go. That question's kind of, I don't know. I mean, one, I don't feel any different about the players from the past to the present. They're all my sons. I love them all the same. Certainly, different era of time of play. There's so many different stories I can tell about each and every one of them. But in terms of how I feel about them, there is no difference. Once they're a part of this family, they're Eagle for life. And once they stepped in our program, regardless of even making it all the way up to varsity, they're a member of that program, a member of our band of brothers, and I consider them all family. So, there is no feeling different of any of them.
All right, Coach O'Neal.
I would agree with that. I mean, we want every young man leaving the program to know that they were cared for and that the coaches had their back. There are a couple really neat things, because I'll always talk about the boys from the beginning, from the late 2008, 2009, 2010, and then when we get to 2018, 2019, and here in 2020, when I talk about the other guys, I want the kids to know who came before them.
All right.
And what's always really neat is in a couple big games or two championships, actually, the guys wanted to go back into the equipment room and wear the jerseys that those guys that we had talked about, or maybe seen the film from the guys 6 years ago.
How special is that?
Oh, so cool. Every year, and they love hearing from the alumni. A couple little factors, I think, beginning coaching in the early 2000s, social media was different. It wasn't as big of a deal. And the only reason I say that is social media can be very individual driven as opposed to like the team. You know what I mean? It's all about the team. And so we got to stress those points. Not that the kids are over the top of the social media. It's a little different there. And I also think kids maybe played more sports back then, and starting to get back to the kids understanding that it is okay now that they can play multiple sports as opposed to just single sport focused. But I don't know if I answered that question as well, but I think the coolest part is the kids care about who came before them. And these boys are they're hilarious, man.
I would say that to piggyback on that is there's certainly never been any greater moment for me next to winning the championship than those Christmas games.
And seeing the guys come back.
Yeah,
I agree.
To be able to take some pictures and look back on Facebook where after a game you've got different years of guys along with your current players, that's special to me. And that just shows what I mean about that family and them being a part and being able to get out back at the support and to show them how the current players, how they've got to do it when they leave. That just always, touches me.
Can I say one more thing? I know we're wrapping up here, but it's funny to me that some of the guys in practice who are older now, who drove me crazy, drove me nuts, right? Have come back now to give back to the program.
Right.
That are helping in the summer. They're helping now on this as assistants. I just love how that all works.
Leadership. Folks, if you want to ask the coaches some questions, please write into us, Turner O'Neill Podcast at gmail.com. We will gladly take your questions. We won't necessarily get to all of them. However, we invite your questions.
Take advantage of historically low mortgage rates and refinance today. Example, if your current mortgage balance is $450,000 with a rate of 4.25%, you could potentially lower your rate to 2.875% and save $340 on your monthly mortgage. Or with your current monthly mortgage amount, the aforementioned 2.875% rate, take 5 years or 60 payments off of your mortgage for a savings of $132,000. To learn more about your options, call Ray Cruz at 301-761-2278 or apply online at raypcruz.com and start saving today. Ray will do a thorough analysis and review all options with you. Whether it's monthly savings or reducing your term to eliminate years of payments, call Ray today at 301-761-2278 or apply online at raypcruz.com. That's raypcruz.com. All loans are subject to credit approval. Interest rates are subject to change daily and without notice. Interest rates mentioned in this ad are indicative of market conditions and individual qualifications, which will vary on your lock-in period, loan type, credit score, purpose, and value to loan. 2.875% rate and 3.1 APR based on 75% LTV, 740 plus credit, single-family residence, owner-occupied, purchase or rate term, refinance, and a loan amount of $450,000 with no subordinate financing. This is not an offer to enter into an interest rate or mortgage agreement. MCF Mortgage is an equal housing opportunity lender.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our show. As we do each week, we want you to know that you can become a friend of the program. We have a $25 Friends tier. You can become a partner. You can become a sponsor. You can become a donor. Go to our website, turnerandoneal.com, and click Partnerships. Also, we want you on our social media. Go to Turner O'Neill Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, Twitter at Turn On Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill, and follow, like, and add. Spread the word. We want you in our social community on our social platforms. Don't forget your questions and show submissions. Submit your idea on our website. Not all submissions or questions will be used. Each week we will read questions on the podcast. Also send us your comments, critiques, and thoughts. Coach O'Neill, Ariana Grande thanks you. Coach Turner, Thank you for being a part of this. Chrissy, our engineer.
I see your reversal of the Ariana Grande comment.
What?
Wasn't it you that was talking
Isn't
about
this
her?
my part of the? Isn't this my pasta of the show? I mean, my part of the show, isn't it? Your daughter says you sing in the car.
I do.
She says you sing in the car.
And I grill hot dogs as well.
We've got daughters in the studio. Do y'all want to say hello?
Yes. Hi.
Come over to the mic and say hello.
Hi.
She's going to take the long walk. Say hi to the people.
Hey.
All right, so we've got an audience in the studio today. Oh, my son, he'd like to come on too. Go ahead. Tell him what your name is.
Adam.
All right, so now we got everybody on the show. Chrissy, you are the engineer. Thank you. Do not edit the kids out. They're going to be a part of this episode now. So send your comments, critiques. Thanks to everyone. Paula, you are part of this crew. And now we come to the quote. I had a quote, but Coach O'Neill said something about the journey. So I thought of this quote. I had to pull it up. It is good to have an end to journey toward, but it is the journey in the end that matters. You talked about championships and the journey and the process of getting there, but it is good to have an end to journey toward, but it is the journey that matters in the end. And I think you coaches know that. There's nothing like hoisting that trophy, but I think you want all the days that lead up to hoisting that trophy. You want the tough practices. You want the moments that make you smile. Sometimes the moments that frustrate you. The kid that gets on the court who might not get a lot of playing time, or the manager who gets to be a part of that championship as well, or the good times, the bus rides. You talk about the bus rides and they get to know who's listening to what. You know, I'm taking your headphones and hearing your music. You're hearing mine. Those journeys. Because the honest truth is, if you have how many on your roster?
45.
45 kids are not playing Division I lacrosse.
Nope.
14 boys aren't playing Division I basketball. So it's those memories they make on the way there, so that Chris Jenkins can call the 12th man on the bench and celebrate that shot. You know, even though that kid is no longer playing basketball, he might be playing club ball. For the young lady who won't make the WNBA or professional women's soccer, those experiences. So let's enjoy the journey, folks. I'm enjoying this journey with you guys. I appreciate you bringing me, Chrissy, and Paula in on what we do. And hey, guys, we'll see you next week.
Yes,
See you soon.
Thanks to our partners, Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage, the Tamara Cusick team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, and Healthy Baller. Our sponsors, O'Neill Development LLC, Next Level Lacrosse, and Peace Players International. Our donors, Justin O'Neill, Winsight Media, and Redwood Investments. Partnership opportunities are available. Questions and submissions to the podcast can be submitted by going to www.turnerandoneal.com. All submissions will be reviewed for content and may or may not be included in a future podcast. When submitting content, you agree to the use of your likeness and social media identity, should we choose to include your content. No compensation is offered for submitted content. Where possible, credit will be given for creative content. Take a TO with Coaches Turner and O'Neill is produced by Curtis Cross and engineered by DJ Chrissy. You may contact us on social media at Turner O'Neill Podcast or by visiting www.turnerandoneal.com. You may also email the show at turneronealpodcast@gmail.com.